The story begins with a single father named Manager Kim, whom we'll simply call Mr. Kim. He is an ordinary office worker who always avoids conflicts with other people. For example, one day someone bumped into him. Even though it was the other person's fault, Mr. Kim apologized instead of arguing. Even when he was punched, he chose to remain silent and simply walked away as if nothing had happened. Kim has a teenage daughter named Minji, who is in the 11th grade of high school. Since he is a single father, he takes care of everything himself, washing clothes, ironing, cooking, and doing all the household chores. Although he and his daughter are not extremely close, they still talk to each other regularly. Because he is just an ordinary employee, he doesn't own a car. Every morning, he and Minji travel separately. Kim has a neighbor named Mr. M, who works as a dry cleaner. They know each other but are not particularly close. Meanwhile, Minji has a crush on a boy named Kim Namhoon. Even though she has to travel by public transportation every day, she's happy because she gets to see Namhoon. Kim works at a bank. One day, he tries to discuss an expense claim with his boss because there is no receipt for it. However, his boss doesn't care and tells him to charge the expense to the company, even though it was for personal use. Once again, Mr. Kim chooses not to argue. Later, he searches online for self-defense equipment on his computer. His co-worker, Sangha, notices and asks who it's for because the items appear to be for a woman. Kim explains that they're for his daughter, Minji. Sangha then says, "I'm going shopping after work anyway. I'll come with you to buy a birthday gift for your daughter." Mr. Kim happily agrees. The next afternoon, just as Sangha had promised, she accompanied Mr. Kim to buy Minji's birthday present. First, they went to pick up a cake. Sangha had already placed the order and sent the barcode to Mr. Kim's phone. However, his mobile phone was extremely old and couldn't display the barcode properly. The staff almost refused to give him the cake and asked him to wait in line again. Fortunately, Sangha arrived just in time and showed the barcode, so they received the cake. After that, they went shopping for clothes. Mr. Kim thought the outfit Sangha chose was too expensive and wanted to return it. But Sangha convinced him that Minji would really like it. In the end, he bought the clothes and hid them until her birthday, which was only a couple of days away. Later that evening, Mr. Kim found Minji doing the laundry. She told him that from now on she would wash her own clothes because her classmates had teased her, saying her clothes smelled bad. Before going to bed, Minji checked on her father, who had already fallen asleep. She felt guilty about what she had said earlier, so she quietly told him to rest and promised to take care of the house the next day. The following morning, Minji looked for her gym uniform. Minji soon discovered that 3 girls who constantly bullied her had thrown the uniform into the trash. She became desperate because she wouldn't be allowed to participate in gym class. Namhoon kindly offered her his own gym uniform, saying, "It might smell a little because I just finished exercising, but you can wear it." The 3 bullies became furious when they saw Namhoon helping Minji. Meanwhile, the story introduces 2 other characters. Point 1 is Song Hansu, a martial arts and taekwondo instructor who trains children. The other is Park Jin-cheol, a man who often helps kindergarten children cross the street. Although he means well, he usually ends up causing more trouble than help, and both of them also know Mr. Kim. The 3 men gather together and chat. Jin-cheol proudly talks about his adorable daughter, Dabin, saying he's afraid she'll grow up too quickly. He even wears a t-shirt printed with her picture. While they're talking at a restaurant, several rude customers begin causing trouble by smoking inside, even though smoking isn't allowed. They insult the owner when asked to stop. Cheol glares at them. Hansu and Mr. Kim tell him to stay calm and avoid fighting, but one of the troublemakers throws a drink at Jin-cheol. That is the final straw. Jin-cheol immediately beats up all of the troublemakers with ease. Mr. Kim quietly leaves instead of getting involved, while Hansu can only shake his head at the chaos. Eventually, the police arrive, and the incident comes to an end. She returned the uniform to him at school, and they talked for a while. Namhoon jokingly asked her about liking one of his social media posts. Minji denied it, insisting she didn't even have social media. Namhoon sent her a message. The notification immediately rang on Minji's phone, exposing her lie. She became extremely embarrassed that moment. The 3 girls who had been bullying Minji saw what happened. Wanting to humiliate her further, they tricked her by saying that one of her friends wanted to meet her. As soon as Minji arrived, the leader of the group slapped her across the face without warning. They mocked her again for not having a mother and continued insulting her family. Although Minji tried to walk away, the girls kept hitting and pushing her. Finally, unable to tolerate it any longer, she fought back and punched them. Instead of admitting they had started the fight, the three girls pretended to be the victims. The school immediately called Mr. Kim. He rushed to the school, where he learned that the lead bully's father was one of the school's biggest financial donors. Despite Minji insisting that she had only defended herself, Mr. Kim apologized to everyone. He even knelt on the floor and begged for forgiveness because he wanted to avoid creating more trouble. Watching her father kneel in front of everyone deeply humiliated Minji. Fortunately, the bully's father decided not to press the matter further, although there were discussions about transferring Minji to another class or even another school. On the way home, Mr. Kim tried comforting Minji. "I believe you. I know you weren't lying." But Minji was still furious. "You should have defended me instead of kneeling before them just because we're poorer than they are. I hate you." She declared that she wouldn't spend the night at home and would stay with her friend instead. Kim gently reminded her that the next day was her birthday. Minji replied sadly, "I hate my birthday." The reason was heartbreaking. Her birthday was the same day her mother had died. That evening, Mr. Kim visited his late wife's grave. Standing quietly before her memorial, he remembered how kind and beautiful she had been. He apologized for not being able to protect their daughter and promised he would continue doing his best. Minji received a direct message that appeared to be from Nam-hun. When he returned home, Minji still hadn't come back. He stayed awake all night, waiting for her. The next morning, Mr. Kim had already prepared Minji's birthday cake, breakfast. Mr. Kim rushed to the school and spoke with Nam-hun. Nam-hun explained that his phone had been stolen by gang members, and someone had used it to send Minji the fake message. He apologized, saying he had arrived too late to stop whatever had happened. Mr. Kim immediately searched behind the school. There he found a large pool of blood and a hair clip that belonged to the girl who had been bullying Minji. At that moment, his calm personality disappeared. His expression turned cold and terrifying. Soon afterward, the bully arrived with several hired thugs. Mr. Kim quietly picked up the hair clip and asked her, "This belongs to you, doesn't it? Where is Minji?" Terrified, she remained silent. The gang members stepped forward, thinking Mr. Kim was just an ordinary middle-aged office worker. They had no idea who he really was. In reality, Mr. Kim was once one of the most powerful and feared secret agents in North Korea. Within seconds, he defeated every thug with overwhelming skill, demanding only one thing: "Where is my daughter?" The story flashes back to 2008, when Manager Kim was still a North Korean secret agent. At that time, he was assigned to hunt down a South Korean traitor. As always, his mission went perfectly. Although the traitor was protected by several men, Mr. Kim defeated them all, captured the target, drove across the border, and deliberately drove his car into a river. The next day, the South Korean target was found dead. However, Manager Kim's body was never found. He simply disappeared without a trace. Some time later, Mr. Kim's wife, Yoojin, gave birth to their daughter, Minji. Unfortunately, Yoojin became extremely weak after giving birth. Although Minji was born healthy, Yoojin realized she wasn't going to survive. With her last strength, she asked Mr. Kim to leave behind his dangerous career and his past as a secret agent. She wanted him to become an ordinary father and devote his life to raising their daughter. After delivering those final words, Yoojin passed away. Because of his wife's dying wish, Mr. Kim immediately requested permission from his superiors to retire as an elite special agent. At first they refused, but after he insisted and threatened to quit anyway, they finally allowed him to leave. From that day onward, he lived as an ordinary bank employee and raised Minji alone as a single father. He even relied on the help of a friend while learning how to care for his daughter, watching her grow from infancy until she became a high school student. What really happened to Minji? The story returns to the night before Minji disappeared. Everything happened exactly as Nam-hun had explained. Several gang members suddenly attacked Nam-hun and stole his phone. Using his social media account, they sent Minji a message asking her to meet behind the school. When Minji arrived at the meeting place, Nam-hun wasn't there. Instead, she found the blonde girl who had been bullying her, her friends, and several hired thugs. The blonde bully immediately began hitting Minji while insulting her, just as she always did. Unable to endure it any longer, Minji fought back and attacked the blonde girl. She actually managed to overpower her. However, one of the hired thugs suddenly punched Minji in the stomach. Then, while Minji was distracted, the blonde girl struck her hard on the back of the head. Minji fell backward and hit her head on a rock. Blood immediately began flowing from her head. Everyone at the scene panicked, especially the blonde girl. At that very moment, Mr. Kim was repeatedly calling Minji, but she wasn't answering. The people involved quickly collected everyone's phones and deleted any videos that had recorded the incident, trying to erase all evidence. They then contacted Min Cheol, one of Gold Teeth's subordinates, asking him to dispose of Minji's body. Min Cheol informed Gold Teeth about the situation. Gold Teeth immediately became interested because the incident involved the daughter of Kong Chan, the wealthy businessman he wanted revenge against. He drove to the scene, loaded Minji's body into the trunk of his car, and then drove the blonde girl home. Before leaving, he warned her never to tell her father what had happened. Terrified, she obediently agreed because he had helped cover up the incident. Mr. Kim demanded to know where his daughter was. The thug lied and blamed everything on Min Cheol, insisting that Min Cheol was responsible and that he knew nothing else. Mr. Kim then asked where Min Cheol lived. Before going there, he returned home. Looking around the house, he was reminded of Minji everywhere. The empty house made him miss his daughter even more. That day, he didn't go to work. His co-worker Sangha repeatedly called him, but he ignored every call. Instead, Mr. Kim prepared himself for what was coming. He took out the old equipment he had used during his days as an elite secret agent. After gathering everything he needed, he headed straight to Min Cheol's hideout using the address the thug had given him. When he arrived, Min Cheol and his gang were torturing a man who owed them money. The man had a daughter who was also a high school student. Since he couldn't repay his debt, the gang planned to harvest and sell his daughter's organs. Just as they were about to take the girl into the operating room, Mr. Kim suddenly entered the building. The gang members immediately attacked him. Unfortunately for them, they had no idea who they were dealing with. Mr. Kim effortlessly defeated every single one of them. None of the gang members could even land a proper hit on him. He then entered the operating room and beat the criminals there before continuing toward Min Cheol. Seeing Mr. Kim, Min Cheol panicked. He tried to escape, but Mr. Kim had already anticipated it. Min Cheol stepped into a trap set by Mr. Kim and fell. Mr. Kim captured him alive so he could interrogate him. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim's two friends, Hansu and Jin Cheol, were still being held by the police after the restaurant fight. Hansu tried to explain that Jin Cheol was the only one who had actually fought, while he had merely tried to stop the conflict. At the same time, in North Korea, the video of Jin Cheol's fight had gone viral. During the footage, facial recognition software accidentally detected Mr. Kim's face. After searching for him for years, North Korean intelligence finally discovered that he was alive. The information was immediately reported to their superiors. Most of the officials suggested requesting South Korea's cooperation through official channels. However, one elderly commander named Ryung Yong refused. He wanted to capture Mr. Kim himself without involving the South Korean government. He asked one of his subordinates whether there was anyone strong enough to face Mr. Kim. The subordinate explained that there had once been an agent who was just as powerful, but he had died in battle. However, that agent had a younger brother who possessed similar abilities. The old commander decided to use that younger brother to hunt down manager Kim. At the same time, another intelligence organization also detected Mr. Kim's location using its surveillance system. A man named Dong Kanggaji, who also worked as a spy, learned about Mr. Kim's whereabouts. His organization decided to capture Mr. Kim before the North Koreans could reach him first. Back at the hideout, Mr. Kim continued interrogating Min Cheol. Min Cheol claimed he didn't know where Minji was. After receiving several more punches from Mr. Kim, he finally confessed. He explained that everything had been organized through a Telegram group. Once a mission was completed, the group would immediately be deleted, making it impossible to trace the people involved. While they were talking, Min Cheol's phone suddenly received another message from the same group. The conversation mentioned Minji. Mr. Kim immediately called the number. However, nobody answered. The phone belonged to Gold Teeth's group. Gold Teeth guessed that the caller might be the police. He ordered his men not to answer the call and to throw the phone away immediately, just to be safe. Mr. Kim then asked Min Cheol how they could contact the group now that the chat had been deleted. Min Cheol replied that once the group disappeared, even he had no way of contacting them again. Just then, the police suddenly arrived. Mr. Kim was arrested and taken to the police station. After Gang Song left, Jin Cheol decided he had to help Mr. Kim. He deliberately started a fight inside the holding cell by attacking another prisoner. The police officers rushed into the cell to stop the fight. The moment they entered, Jin Cheol locked them inside the cell and escaped from the station. At the same time, Mr. Kim remained at the police station. He refused to answer any questions. The police confiscated his phone and attempted to scan his fingerprints. However, something unusual happened. As soon as his fingerprints were scanned, the system displayed a restricted security message asking for a special access code. The officers were completely confused. Just then, Mr. Kim's phone suddenly rang. One of the officers looked at the screen and saw the caller ID, "My daughter." The moment Mr. Kim heard those words, he immediately realized it had to be Minji. Without hesitation, he broke free from his handcuffs, knocked the officers aside, and said, "Be quiet. I'm answering this call first." He answered the phone. It really was Minji. How will the story continue? We'll find out in the next episode.